Alrighty, what's going on, my powerlifting people? Thank you for checking out the channel and tuning in to another video. I hope you all are having a good week. If you don't know who I am, my name is Venmo Khamesi. I'm a powerlifting coach, athlete, referee, and meet director. So I make videos here on this channel to help out those groups of people. As you can see, I already have my computer pulled up. We're going to get right into this. What we're going to do is we're going to develop a template for basically building a game plan for meet day. So if you missed out, we already went over a video from the other week where I handled a lifter at a competition, and then I went over also some basically tips and tricks for you coaches out there to basically get into meet day handling services and build it out. So now we're going to go over is basically a template that you can use if you are a coach, or if you're just a lifter and you want to use a template. There are a number of free ones out there, but this one we're going to kind of go step by step and show how you can build one, and also give you access to this file where you can copy it and you can use it exactly as it is, or you can go and then make adjustments if you want with, like, you know, the color, or if you want to add in any additional stuff, put your logo on it, that kind of stuff. But we're going to go over step by step how you can develop something that's better than just, like, you know, having no plan or just having some stuff on a piece of paper, because you can do your training all perfectly and everything going well. If you don't have a good game plan going into the meet, then that day of the meet you can screw up the entire training cycle, whether it's 16 weeks, 20 weeks, whatever it is. So you want to have a good game plan going in with options that you can change based on how things are feeling. So if things are feeling good, you might take a high option. If things are feeling bad, you might take the low option. So you want to have some stuff out there, and if you are a coach, it's good to have a standardized template where then you can just duplicate it for each lifter and change your information, everything like that, and then be able to, you know, be more efficient with your time. So you may be thinking, okay, I have Google Sheets or Microsoft Excel open. How do I get started? A lot of people kind of, like, you know, they see the blank page and they're like, how can I get started? What you can do is you can go look at some of the other attempt sheets that are out there from other coaches. So I'll show you one that we use for the national team. This one was developed by Mike Zalalinski back when he was the head coach for our NAPF team. And then since I was an assistant underneath him, I was using this for the NAPF team, and I started using it for our team for Classic World, and also I started using it for my own lifter. So you can see here, it's very basic from when you see it, is you have, like, you know, the lifter information here at the top, then you have the warm-ups here in the middle, and then below that you have the attempts, and then below that you have a section for notes. But he makes it a little bit more efficient because he has some drop downs. Like, you know, you can pick here whether you want male or female. Here you can pick between the weight classes. Here as well, wherever you put here, it's going to convert to kilograms and pounds. So if I change this 20 to 100, for example, you can see it switches to 100 kilos, 220 pounds. So he has some stuff like that that automatically calculates stuff for you. He actually has this column here where you can switch if you want to do it in pounds. Then you can put your numbers in pounds. You can put, you know, 135 pounds, and they'll tell you it's about 60 kilos. So he has a lot of things in here that you can go and you can adjust for each lifter and each situation as far as what competition it is. Down here for the attempts, you know, you have a 1B, and you have, like, you know, a 2A and 2B, 3A and 3B. Here you can also select what type of record it is. If you want to know, okay, there's a world record, we're chipping it, that kind of stuff. So a lot things that you can put here, but you can see the overall idea he has, where he has the lifter information at the top, then warm-ups, then attempts, and then a section for notes. On the flip side, you can go, you know, left to right if you want, or you can have it, you know, a separate page for each lift if you want. And, you know, if you have it on your phone on Google Sheets, then you can always just, like, you know, switch the tab or switch the sheet depending on what lift it is. So a lot of things that you can do here, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to recreate this from scratch. And I'm going to show you some of the things as far as these drop down menus and some of the things that you can do to just change it on how you want it. So the first thing, obviously, we have our empty sheet here. You can call it whatever you want. Generic powerlifting meet template. Then you can start putting in, you know, if you want to put the top as the generic information, you can start putting in what you want to put in there. So for example, let's say the first thing we want is we want their name. Second, let's say we want what age division they're in. Maybe you want to, like, know if they're junior or if they're open, and that way maybe for, like, you know, looking up records and everything like that, you can just keep track of it. Then once you know what age division they're in, maybe you want to know what weight class they're in. And then let's say you want to know the name of the competition and the date of the competition. That way, you know, if you're just doing this for yourself, you may not need this information. Obviously, you know who you are, you know what meet you're doing, everything like that. But if you are coaching someone, and let's say, you know, you have to coach multiple lifters at multiple meets that are different weekends and everything like that, and you want to keep track of everything, then you can basically use information to keep track of who's this game plan for, what's the day of their competition, what age division they are, if you have to go look it up, everything like that. And even, like, you know, at a competition like, you know, Raw, Nationals, or Classic Worlds, where you have multiple days, multiple age divisions, multiple weight classes, it can help you keep track of everything. So then we will fill in that information here. And let's say if you want to make it bigger, you can always merge these cells and then you can make it where you have more space to input everything. And even if you want to, let's say you want to actually merge the first column as well, so we can actually go back and we can merge these as well. So if you don't know exactly what you're doing as far as like how to structure everything, you can always just start with a rough draft and maybe not merge anything and not do any kind of formatting or colors or anything like that. And first just like, type everything out and then go and make your adjustments if you want. But let's just say we want 2 columns to fit all this stuff in there so that we can make it bigger. And also we want 2 columns here so we can actually, type in the person's name and have it all fit in there. And we can also make this bigger if we wanted to. So you can make it bold if you want. All the stuff then at that point is like however you want to adjust it. So from there, we have the basic information about the lifter, the weight class, or anything like that. Let's say we also want to know what weights they're doing. So again, we can come here and we can merge these. And let's say we want to first collect their previous information. So you can do, what's their squat PR? What's their bench PR? What's their deadlift PR? And then what's their total PR if it happens to not be, the same as they didn't hit the best lifts at the same competition. And then we will input those here. Okay, so let's say, okay, Aaron's got a 200 kilo squat PR, 100 kilo bench PR, and 300 kilo, and then 600. We'll just put some numbers in for now. And as always, you can you go format this if you want to center and all that kinds of stuff like that. You can always do that to make it prettier. So now we have basically our top section, just like Mike had, where you have information about the lifter. But now let's say we don't want to just type in every time junior, okay? Or have to remember the weight classes or anything like that. What if we want the drop down menu like Mike has? So what you can do, you can either do it like on the same sheet on the far end, but you can always make a new sheet, whether you're in Excel or in Google Sheets. So you can call this, let's say, the game plan. And then let's say we want to call this the data page. Okay, so now we're on the data page. We can list the data that we want to put here that we're going to pull into the drop down. So that way, it's on the data page, it's clean on the game plan. There's the drop down, and then here's where you put all the information. So what information do we want? We want to know the age divisions, and we want to know the weight class, and we want to know the records for when we get to attempts. Okay. From here, it's going to depend on whether you're doing a USAPL meet, you're going to use the USAPL age divisions, or you're going to do an IPF meet, or you're going to use IPF age divisions, or you're going to use, like, let's say you're doing a USPA meet, you want to use USPA weight classes. So when I put this template up, or when you build it, you want to build out for what you use most often. Or you can go in, when I share this template, is you can go in and you can change this information, because all this is editable. You can change this and it'll change the drop down menus. So you can change it to whatever you want, but let's say we want to go with USAPL age divisions, since most of the competitions I'm doing are going to be USAPL age divisions. So then you can drop that down there. I have it already copied on another page. So you can type in however you want. You can put in, teen 1 if you want, but if you want to be more descriptive, you can put in teen 1, 14, 15 to kind of give you a reminder of what age it's for. And also this as a template helps for all of you, just having all the information out there. Same thing with the weight classes. You can label the weight classes just to kilograms. You can put the pound conversion. You can make sure you mark which ones are youth. Like you can see here, I marked which ones are for youth girls and boys. I marked which ones are for only youth boys. I marked which ones are for teens and juniors. For the IPF level, you can mark this sub junior and junior. And then you can see you have the open women's weight classes here. And then you have the open men's weight classes here. And again, you can go and adjust these if you want. So let's say you're competing in another federation, it's 82.5 kilos, then you can always go and adjust it. And then when we do this drop down menu sub, it's gonna have basically that change. And then let's say for records, even though I said we're going to be focusing mostly on USAPL meets, you can throw all the records in there anyways. So here, since we're in North America, we can copy over, state, American, North America, Pan American, and world records. And then again, you can go clean this up however you want and change the font size or the font and make it all pretty, whatever you want to do, it's up to you. But for here, we're just putting in the data so that we can then pull it into this tab right here. So let me show you how we do it. Let's say we want to focus on age division and we want to be the drop down. What we do is go here to data, and then you go to data validation. Okay, here you have different options of ways you can collect the data. You can actually do lists. So if you didn't want to do a separate tab, you could do it here and just do teen 1, teen 2, teen 3, and it's going to do it. I think it's a little bit more effort, and then also it's only going to be basically saved into the cell. You're not going to have the separate sheet. But instead, what we can do the cleaner way, I think, is list from a range, and then you can pick your range. So here we can click this and select data range, and then we're going to come over to our data tab, and then we want to pick our age divisions here. Then we hit OK. And then now you can choose show drop down list and cell. You can choose whatever you want. You can show that it gives a warning if you type in the wrong thing, or it can just completely reject it. So I'll leave it on warning so you can kind of see right here. So now if we come over to game plan, you'll see there's this little down arrow, okay? And then you're gonna see you have all your age division pulled over from there. And it's easy to see what age division it is, and then the actual numbers as well there for, like, you know, Masters 1, Youth. And then what happens if you start typing it in, let's say we click off of this, and let's say we just click on the cell and we start typing junior, then you can see it starts showing up for us. Okay, but let's say we type in the wrong thing. So let's say I'm trying to go to IPF meet and I actually type in sub junior, enter. You'll see there's a little red line right here, and it says invalid, must fall within specified range. So it'll give you that warning. It doesn't reject it, because that way, if you do want to do sub junior, you're able to use this, basically the same template for an IPF meet if you want. It gives you the warning, but it's not going to let you, it's not going to block you from it. So then you can just select whatever you want. Let's say we want the same thing for the weight class. Let's try and make this accurate. We'll put area is open. So we want to do the same thing for the weight class. We go data validation. You're going to go list from range. You're going to select your range, come over to the data tab, select all your weight classes, and then we'll leave it as warning and we'll hit save. Okay, and then now you have it here. And again, the benefit of the warning is, again, if you're competing in another federation, you can put in 82.5 kilograms hard coded in there, and it'll give you the warning, but it'll accept it. The other option is, if you want, like I said, this list all changes. So right here, you see it says 83. I can go in here to data, switch my 83 to 82.5, and then you come back here to game plan, you come back to your weight classes, and then there it's already switched. So once you selected your range and once you have everything put in there, then you can always go back and switch your numbers if you want to put in the pound conversion, everything like that. And then you're going to have it nice and clean over here to select your weight class. And we'll go 93 weight class. I'm weighing about 95 right now. You can put in the competition if you want, USAPL Boy and Barbell Center Championship. You can put the date if you want, January 8, 2022. No, missed the date. 2022, prepping for next year, and then you're starting to get all the information here. Then what we can do is, okay, now we want to start putting in the actual warm-ups and attempts. Okay, so what we can do is, again, just like Mike had on his, we can have a section here for warm-ups, and then below it a section for attempts. So what you can do is, if you want to space it out, you can, or you can just have it right there. So we're going to go squat, and right below it we'll put that these are going to be our warm-ups. Okay, and then what do we want for our columns? One, let's put how many warm-ups it's going to be. So we'll have a column that says the sets, and then let's say instead of doing 10 warm-ups, we want to only have space for 8 warm-ups. Since most people will be between 4 to 6 warm-ups, we want to have some additional space in case someone wants to warm up more. But we don't want to make it so long, like, you know, how many people are doing 10 warm-ups, how many people are doing 12 warm-ups. We don't want to make it too long and then have our sheet be too long. So let's just go with 8 warm-ups. Then next to the warm-ups, let's say we want to have what weight we're actually doing in kilograms, and then we want to be able to convert that for us automatically in pounds, just to make it easier for us, since a lot of us grew up with pounds and are familiar with pounds. And then next to that, we want to put in how many reps we want to do with that warm-up weight. Okay, so this is going to be our squat warm-up section, and we'll have the same thing for bench press and the same thing for deadlift. So what we can do is we can merge this just to make it look cleaner, and merge this just to make it look cleaner. And then if we want to make it even nicer, we can try and center all this stuff, make it a little bit easier to read. And then what we can do is just copy this over to our bench press and copy this over to our deadlift. And then we can make this bench press and make this deadlift. So now we're starting to get our warm-up section in. Okay, now we have the section to put in all the weights. It'll convert automatically for some pounds once we set that up, and then we have the reps as well. So what we can do here in order to convert in pounds is we can automatically create a formula that's going to do it for us. So we can say we want to take this column here where we put it for kilograms and multiply it by 2.2046. Okay, and then what we can do is we can drag this down and copy that formula over. So now if we're going, you know, 20 kilos, 60 kilos, 100 kilos, okay, 145 kilos, 175 kilos, 200 kilos, you can see it's automatically converting the pounds over for us. And then if we want to make it a little bit like cleaner looking, like we don't need to have that many decimal places there, we can go and we can cut out some of these decimal places. And let's say we just want to go 1 decimal place because we're not too worried about the exact number because we're going off the kilograms. And then again, we can copy this same thing over here. And then if you just think you're unsure, okay, did it do it correctly or mess it up, is you can just double tap on it and you can see it's pulling from this cell F9 and it's multiplying up by 2.2046. So you can see that's correct. And then you can drag this down again. And same thing, if you want to copy just the 1 and just double check before you drag it down or copy all of it over, make sure, okay, it's grabbing J9. And then again, you can grab this and pull it down. And then again, you can always throw in your numbers and see, okay, this is correct, and see same thing. So now you can see it's automatically calculating the pounds for us. And then here you're just gonna put in whatever reps you want. Okay, I wanna do 8 reps, and 6 reps, 4 reps, 2 reps, 1 rep. In addition, because you have the space, you can also put in additional notes here. So you can say, okay, I wanna do 1 rep here, but I wanna make sure the lifter's wearing their belt for this. Same thing here, let's say you're doing 1 rep and you wanna make sure they're pausing. And same thing here, 1 rep, and you wanna make sure they're wearing their belt. So now you have all the space to build out your warm-up plan with 8 warm-ups, put in the kilograms, it'll calculate the pounds for you, you can put in the reps, and you can put some additional notes there. And again, you can always go and clean this up, you can change the font, the text size, everything like that. So here I just made it a little bit smaller, fit everything in there. We can even make this smaller. Now we have our warm-up section pretty much done. Now we wanna go over to our temp selection. So we're gonna make our temp section right here. What we can do is you can copy this over here. And then instead of that being our warm-ups, this is going to be our attempts. Okay, now bring this down a little bit. Now, what do we want for our section for our attempts? Okay, we want to know what attempt is it. Is it first attempt, second attempt, third attempt? Okay, we want to again know what it is in kilograms. We'll automatically calculate it in pounds. And then instead of the reps, since we're only doing 1 rep, we want to know if it's a record or not. And then we can always make it pretty if you want, make it centered. And then we can copy that over for our bench press and copy that over and paste it for our deadlift, okay? Now for our attempts, we don't need 8 spots, but let's say we want to do more than 3. Let's say we want to have 1 option for first attempt, since obviously going in, we're going to pick 1 option. We're going to go with that. But let's say we want 3 options for second attempts, a high, a middle, and a low. So we can do 2A, 2B, and 2C. And let's say we want the same thing for thirds. So now you have an option based on how the first goes. We're gonna pick a high, middle, low for second, and then based on how seconds go, pick a high, low, middle for seconds. We can copy and paste this over here for bench press and for deadlift. And then again, we can go and center everything if we want to just make it a little bit easier to read and nicer to look at. Okay, now we have our section for attempts, and we want to do the same thing here for pounds. We want it to convert to kilograms. So we can copy and paste this here, double check that it's grabbing the right thing. Okay, it's grabbing B19 right here, and then we can drag this down. And then you can do the same thing for bench press and same thing for deadlift. And again, with all this stuff, you can always go and resize if you want. So let's say you want the kilograms to be a little bigger. Here we want the pounds to be a little bigger. Here we want the kilograms to be bigger and the pounds to be bigger, and even the reps. So now we have basically our attempt selection section here. But now we want to put in the record, okay? So we want to go and do another drop down. So what we do is, again, go data validation, list from range. We're going to select our range. We're going to come over here to our data tab, and we want to select the type of records. And then hit save. And then now we have our drop down menu. Okay, and then again, you can go and you can copy that. So now I dragged it down. You can always double check, okay, it's doing it correctly. You can copy, paste that over for bench press, copy and paste that over for deadlift. So now we have, again, we can type in how many kilograms we're doing. We can pick a high, a middle, and a low. And then you can, again, for your third attempt, pick a high, a middle, and a low, and you can see it calculating it all. And if we want to test out bench press, we can drop it on bench press, drop it on deadlift, and it'll have everything there for us. So now we have our attempt section done. So now let's say we want a section for notes. So we're going to come down here. All right, and notes is going to be the easy one. So you can just, if you want, copy this, paste this here, switch this to notes, 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 and then however many cells you want. Let's say we want to go here to 35, and then you can just merge this and then do that. And then you can put in whatever notes you want here. Don't forget your belt and knee sleeves. And then here you can put our like, don't forget to eat and drink. Here you can put like, don't forget your long socks. And then with all this stuff, again, you can go and format it to make it look nicer. Or if you even want, for the notes, if you want to be top left, like that, you can do that. And now we have a section for notes to go after our attempts, so that when we're looking at the section for our attempts, either on our phone or printout, you can go and check this stuff and be like, oh, okay, maybe I have to remember to put my long socks on while I'm basically, you know, after I'm done with bench press, looking over at deadlift. Then again, you can go and make this look all nicer, but this is going to give you basically a general template where you can put in the information about the lifter, and you can pick the age division from a drop down. You can pick the weight class from a drop down. It automatically calculates the pounds for you based on what you put in for kilograms. Same thing here. And also you have a drop down to select what records you want. What you can also then do is go and color code some of this. So let's say, for example, you want to show someone where they should be typing in information and where they shouldn't be touching. So that way, if you want to send this directly to your lifter and say to the lifter, hey, put in your information, put in what you think for warm-ups and attempts, and then I'll take a look at it, review it, and let you know what I think. So what you can do is like, okay, all the input sections you can turn into, let's say, a yellow color. We're going to input all the kilograms, the reps for squat, bench press, and deadlift. And we want all that to be yellow. And then let's say we don't want them to touch the pounds, so we can put the no touch color, and we'll make that red. We can tell them don't touch the red. And then you can do the same thing here. You want them to pick the kilograms, or you for yourself, you want to pick the kilograms. And if it's a record, oh, messed that up. Let's try that again. So let's say you want to let them know that they should be picking the attempts and whether it's a record or not. Or if you're doing it yourself, you want to remind yourself these are where you're going to be inputting the data. I messed that one up, but we will continue on, and we'll make this yellowish color. We can shift this one back to white. And then let's say you want a reminder not to touch the red, leave the pounds. So we'll make that red. So now you can start color coding a little bit, and now they know where they should be putting their information and where they shouldn't be touching, because you can let them know in the email, or you can always put a little note here on the side wherever you want to let them know. And you can say, okay, put a little instructions here. You're going to be entering in the yellow, and you're not going to be touching the red, to kind of just give them a reminder. You can even color code this if you want, just to let them know that is the yellow color you're talking about, and that is the red color you're talking about. So now they know where to put in things and where to not. And then again, you can go and clean this all up if you want as far as the look. So for example, if I just bring this over from a one that I have done, you can make your squat and bench and deadlift warm-ups look a little bit bigger, bold, clearer to see. Same thing with the PRs, and same thing for the attempts, and same thing for your notes. That way it's just a little bit easier to see some things as far as what they are for, and then have the numbers be a little bit smaller. In addition, if you want to separate out these attempts to kind of see more clearly where the second attempts are and where the third attempts are, you can always make that border a little bit bigger, and that way it's just a little bit more clear. Okay, this is the first, these are the options for second, these are the thirds. Okay, so now how can we go and improve on this a little bit more? So what we can do that, for example, Mike doesn't have on his is, let's say we want to kind of start getting an idea of what the total is for the lifter based on if they hit all their seconds, or if they hit all their top thirds, if they hit all their bottom thirds, that kind of stuff like that. So what you can do is you can add a column here if you want, and say this is going to be calculating the total in kilograms. And actually, let's put it down here. And then here, what you want to do is do a formula. So you're going to hit equals, and then we're going to do a sum, and then open parentheses, and we're going to do a sum of squat first attempt. Hold your control. You're going to do bench first attempt, and deadlift first. And then you can see here, it's the sum of those three cells. Okay. And it's doing a suggest auto, but we'll just close it for now. So then now we'll calculate basically the sum here. And if you change this, like let's say I only do 200 for squat, 100 for bench, and 300 for deadlift, then you can see it's automatically calculating here. So you can do that. You hold control, click the cells you want, or you can do, again, sum, and you can do plus sign if you want. So you can click on this cell, left click, then hit plus, then pick this cell, hit plus, and pick this cell. So now you can see you can do addition of the cells, or you can just do a sum of the cells using control. So either way will work. And then what we can do is drag this down to copy this formula into all these. So now you can see what the total is going to be for second A, second B, second C, and then same thing, third attempts A, B, and C. And so that way, when you're building out your game plan, you can basically see what their total would be for each of those levels and compare it here to their total PR to see when they're going to hit a PR for the total on top of hitting a PR for each individual lift that you can look here as well. So that's a little addition that you can do. And again, you can make this nicer if you want by, centering everything, bolding what you want, changing the font, all that kind of stuff like that, just to make it a little nicer and clear. So now what is something else we can do to add on another layer of this? So one thing you can do is you can have some kind of calculator either here on the side, or you can again do it on a separate page if you want. But let's say you know what their PRs are, but you want to get a quick calculation rather than doing it on your phone or on a computer of different percentages to figure out what first and second and third are going to be based on some percentages that you may normally use. So we can come over to here to the side and create our own little calculator. And let's say we want to have 88%, 90%, and 92% to give us our range as an idea for first. And then we want to do, let's say, I'm going to go down. We're going to separate out a little bit for second attempts. We'll do 94, 96, and 98. And let's say for third attempts, we want to be matching our PR or going for a new PR. So we'll do 100, 102, and 104. And again, just like everything else, when I send you this, you can go and change these numbers if you want. If you like to say your bench progresses slower, you can do 100, 101, and 102. Then what we can do is create a little table here. We want to calculate off of the squat PR, off of the bench PR, and off of the deadlift PR. So now for 88%, what we're going to do, we're going to go equals. And what we want to do is we're looking at squat. So we're going to come over here, click on this cell for the squat PR, and then we'll do multiplied by, and then we want to go 88%. And then we hit enter, and that's going to calculate it. It's going to try and do a suggested auto field, but the suggested auto field is also switching. So if I do this, it's switching not only the 88% to 90%, but it's also switching the squat PR to bench PR. That's why you see it's 90. So if I double click on it, you can see it's highlighting this cell and this cell. So we don't want that because we want one column for squat rather than having, first attempts on one column. You can do it the other way if you want. But what we want to do is clear this out. We can come back to the cell and we can tell Google Sheets which cell we don't want to change. So if this is the column for squat, we don't want to change the squat PR. So the squat PR here is H1. So we can come over here in the formula bar for H1, and you can use the $ to lock in that letter or that number. So if you put a $ in front of the H, it's going to be stuck in that H column. And if you come one over and put the $ in front of the 1, it's going to be locked into that one row. So now you're locked into the H column and you're locked into the one row. So you're basically locked into that cell, and that's not going to change no matter where you drag or copy and paste this formula. Now, for the other one, for N2 is going to be this right here. It's going to be a percentage. We do want to go down because we want to change the percentages, but we don't necessarily want to go left or right. So what we can do is we'll come back here to the N2. We want to put a $ in front of the N. So we're locking ourselves into the N column, but we're not locking ourselves into any row. So that way the rows can go up and down. So now if we hit enter, and then all we do is drag this all the way down here to 104, now you can see it's changing. So if we come here to 90%, we can see it's continuing to grab the squat PR cell, but now it's grabbing the 90% cell because now it's going down because we dragged the formula down one. And if you come down here to, for example, 104%, you can see again, it's grabbing the squat PR cell because we're locked in on that cell, but now it's grabbing basically the 104%. So you can go and clear these out because we're not using those. And then now you have basically a percentage that you can see automatically calculated for you. So if you have a different lifter or the same lifter, they progress. And let's say now we have a 210 kilo squat PR, all of these are changing. And then you can use that as a quick calculation. Be like, okay, their first attempt should be between 185 and 192.5. Second attempt between 197.5 and 205. And then third attempt, we're going, tying the PR with 210 or going for a PR somewhere around 215 or 217.5. So then you can use that to go in here and then pick. So let's say we want to go about 92%. So we'll go 192.5. And then let's say for second attempts, we want to take top end of 205. And then we'll go 1 under that for the 2B and 1 under that for the 2C. And then let's say for the top end, okay, we want to go, let's say 215. We won't go 217. So we'll pick 215, 212.5, and then 210. The bottom end third is tying our PR. So then you can see how you can quickly put in these numbers by using the calculator on the right first and not having to, pull up a calculator on your phone or on your computer and type everything one by one and try and remember the numbers. You just have a little table here for you. And again, you can go and change these table percentages if you want for whatever you want. If you want to start off with 85%, start off with 85%. If you want to go up to 110%, go up to 110%. You can just change that here, and then you can see it's going up to 230. So now we want to do the same thing, but for bench and deadlift. So what we can do is we'll copy this over to bench press. Okay, but now we have to go change from it calculating the squat PR to the bench PR. So here, the H1 is going to be grabbing the squat PR. We want to grab the H2, the bench PR. So we come to this formula and we can just change this 1 to a 2. And you can see now how it's grabbing the 100, the bench PR. So then you hit enter. Now it's being smarter about the autofill because it has the dollars in front of those letters and numbers locking in those cells. It just doesn't know how to go through all of them because we have this space here. So you can drag, copy it over to all of them, and then delete the rows that we're not using. And same thing for deadlift, copy and paste this over. We're now going to go to H3. So now you can see deadlift PR 300 with H3. Hit enter. You don't have to use the suggested autofill. If you want to be smarter than Google Sheets, just pull it down, delete the empty rows, and now you have your quick calculator for squat, bench press, and deadlift for some ranges as far as first attempts, second attempts, third attempts. You have some ranges there to work with, and then you can use this as a quick guide to go build out your attempts. So again, here, maybe you want to go like 90, 95, and 100 if you want to tie it, or if you want to try and go for a PR, maybe go 92.5, 97.5, 1 and 2.5. So you can use this all as a guide. From there, if you also want to format this to be basically your brand, you can always change to your brand colors, or if you want to put your logo, you can put your logo up here or somewhere else. If you want to put it down by the notes or below everything, you can always do that kind of stuff. So for example, let's say we want to put something here, you can go over to insert and you can do insert image, and you can do it inside a specific cell, or you can just do it overall the cells. So for example, if you want to do overall the cells, you can come here, you can upload a photo, you can use your webcam if you want to just take a picture right away and put it in there. You can basically pick a URL if you have somewhere from a website. So you have lots of different options here. If you already have photos on your Google Drive, so I have these automatically saved basically from my phone, we can just grab a picture. So if I come over here, grab something, we'll grab this guy right here. You can do insert, and then it'll start uploading it and inserting it right there. And then since it's over the cells, you can see how you can drag it over all the cells if you want. And then you can resize this little guy however you want, wherever you want to place it. And let's say we don't want it to go outside of this L cell just for printing purposes. So you can do that, and then you can add your logo in there as well, so that when you print this out or you send it over to your lifter or anything like that, it basically has your branding as far as whatever colors you want to use and has your logo on there as well. All right, so now let's say you want to print this out, but you don't want to keep the calculator or instructions on the actual printout. You just want the important stuff, the information, the warm-ups, the attempts, and the notes. So what you can do is highlight the sections that you want to print out. So let's say we're going to come from this bottom, we're going to come all the way across here to the top left. So now we've highlighted everything that we do want, and we didn't highlight this calculator or this instructions. And then you can come over to file, and then you can go down to print. Okay, you can see, okay, it's not doing it correctly. It's showing me my calculator. What you have to do is switch the print to selected cells. Now we pick selected cells, and then you can see it took away the calculator and it took away the instructions. But then you could be like, Aaron, well, actually, now I'm going on 2 pages. I got this excess. So you can always change your spacing, but also you can test out a couple of things. One, you can switch between landscape and portrait, and you can see now on portrait, it fits. But let's say you also want to stick with landscape. Like, okay, Aaron, I want to be annoying. I want landscape and I want to fit. This is fitting to the width. So it's taking whatever cells you highlighted, taking that width and setting that as the width of the paper, and then the height goes to whatever it wants. But if you're locked in with width, fine, but your height is off, you can always come here as well and go to fit to height. So now it's taking the height of everything you selected and then fitting that into the page. So you can mess around here with fit to width, fit to height, or you can even just go fit to page, and it'll basically compact both sides. As long as you don't have anything drastic, it won't look too tiny or too warped, and you can take a look at like this and see. You can also change your margins if you want, make it more narrow, and be able to fit it all on one page if you want, and then take a look at it and see, okay, does everything seem readable, so that when you print it out, you're not looking really tiny at the attempts and basically putting something wrong in. And again, if you want to do portrait, you can do portrait. If you want to do landscape, you can do landscape, but that way the calculator and the other stuff isn't in there. And if you do end up just doing it on your phone, then obviously you can just scroll through and look at the important sections that you want. You can just focus on the warm-ups during the warm-ups, focus on the attempts during attempts. You can even take screenshots if you want, and then not have to worry about the calculator and not have to worry about the data tab that will just be saved there to use over and over again for those drop down menus. All right, and then like I said, you can go and basically change your font size, your bold, your italic, your column width, all stuff like that, and just make it look nicer and easier to read and everything like that. So here you can say I made an original one where I went and did some of that stuff. So you can see basically, things are bold up top as far as information and the headers, and then you can see basically a little bit better spacing here to put in the kilograms, a little bit more spacing for the reps if you want to put in any notes like that. Here you can clearly see which ones are first, second, and third attempts, making the notes section a little bit bigger. You have basically here where it's going to calculate the totals for you. You have here your calculator, nice and small and compact. And then when you switch anything in here, then it's automatically going to go and switch that stuff right there. So if you have monster bench, it's going to go and you can see it's changing everything for you. So you can clean this up and make it look nice for you. And like I said, you can drag your logo wherever you want. If you want to put at the bottom, you can put them at the bottom. If you like them at the top, you can put them at the top, just like that. And then if you're good with Google Sheets or Microsoft Excel, you can always go and add more and more things in there. For example, you can add a section if you want where you put in the person's actual body weight. So at a competition, you go on your Google Sheets and you go and you put in their actual body weight. And then here you can also maybe have a column that will calculate their IPF points, or if it's not a competition, dots or Wilks or whatever like that. So then you can also see the points in case you are battling for best lifter or in a competition where it is all on point. So all these different little things that you can go and add to this to make it more advanced and have more features. But I just want to put out a basic template that you can go and use for yourself if you're a lifter, or if you're a coach, you can go and you can just put in different people's names for all your lifters, their weight classes, and put all their information and use this. And you can go and change the color, the font, all that stuff like that to make it your brand. And that way you have a good template that's calculating some things automatically for you and helping you calculate some things faster than doing it on your phone, so you can set yourself up or set your lifter up for success. Now you're not doing things with pen and paper and rushing through things, or just only thinking about the opener and figuring out the warm-ups and the other attempts that they have. You have a good game plan going in based on the person's training. And like I said in the beginning of the video, I did do a couple of videos before this going over how my lifter did at the competition and what adjustments we made during the competition, and also basically how you can get into meet day handling for lifters that are not your own lifters. So I'll have the card for those above. I'll put the links down in the description below. I'll also have them here on the screen that you can go click on and watch those next if you didn't see those. And other than that, hope you guys are having a good week, and I'll see you in the next video.